Good afternoon, everyone. Looks like we have a quorum. Thank you all for attending. I heard from Supervisor Bruno earlier this morning that he was heading up to a meeting in Warrensburg and thought that he could be here, but I told him we're running a bit late. So that being said, I'd like to call the Human Services Committee meeting to order at 12:51 p.m. on September 26th. I'd like to ask for a motion for approval of the minutes of the prior committee meeting. Supervisor Frazier and Supervisor McGowan on the second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I think I missed it, so I'm gonna have to abstain.
Okay, all right, fine, thank you. As we normally do, we'll hear from Veteran Services first. We'll hear from the Countryside Adult Home second, and we'll wrap up with Chris and Julie from Department of Social
Is
Services.
it changed from this one?
Include our
I
meeting.
only think the date. If she- Okay.
Thanks.
You're good? Okay. I think,
Good, thank you.
I missed the handing these out the
Thank
day
you.
before.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right.
Good afternoon, Denise. We have, looks like two requests, one being the 2023 budget. If it's all right, let's go to request number 2 first. And if you could walk us through the resolution request form number 10, which I see in our packet, request for transfer of funds.
Yes, so the transfer of funds request is for automotive, gas and oil. Currently, right now, we will not make it through to the end of the year on our fuel charges, transporting veterans to and from the VA hospital 5 days a week. So I'm just asking for a request for 3,000, which should cover it. Shouldn't be bad.
Motion to bring that to the floor. Supervisor McGowan, Supervisor Frazier on the second. Discussion or questions for Denise? Mr. McGowan?
Thank you, Mr. Denise. I don't understand why.
Yeah, right.
Knowing that it costs over $200 to fill my truck, that's it really, it adds up so quick, and Albany's a long trip, so I don't have a problem at all with this. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a 112-mile round trip.
Yep.
Any further discussion? I'll call for the vote. All in favor of approval of the replenishing account request for the transfer of funds?
Aye.
Say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. Let's go on to the 2023 budget.
So the Veteran Services budget from last year to this year has changed a little bit with regards to salaries, because I would like to thank the committee and the board for the position of the Veterans Benefits Counselor that is now been hired in our office since April of this year. So you wouldn't have noticed it until you saw the budget necessarily upfront until going forward for next year. So that's much appreciated, and it's working out well. I don't believe there's, again, you'll also see the increase in the fuel is there. There should be no other drastic changes except for the addition. If I have a benefits counselor, I need to increase like memberships, which would just be double from what they were previously.
a motion to bring the 2023. Oh, no, we're all set. Okay. So any line item questions or any comments for Denise for the Veterans 2023 budget? Hearing nothing, I will ask for the question. All in favor of approving?
Nope, we don't have to.
Oh, that's review. Okay, that's right. Good. Any other updates or information that you'd like to share with us?
Yes, so the last sheet, and this is just showing here, anything that's in bold at the top of the sheet with regards to the claims. You can see that already this year that the increase of the position of the benefits counselor is definitely showing in relation to the amount of claims that we're putting out. And it's only been a couple of 5 months. So we still have money coming in from 2019 of claims being decided by the VA. Again, you'll see those numbers in bold on that table there. And our outreach went from 0 to 100. So the outreach showing down and the upcoming outreach, we're trying to attend just about anything that would be related to veterans or the senior population of veterans. So we are moving right along and coming up with new things that we could maybe doing some seminars at assisted living and skilled nursing facilities. We're hoping to plan some of those for the first quarter of next year.
Great, and thank you for including us on your email blast to your population
Great,
too.
thank you.
Very helpful. Anything else for Denise? Privilege of the floor for either supervisors or anyone else who may be present. Hearing nothing. Thank you, Denise.
Thank you.
Have a Good
Thank you.
afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to Amy Byrne from the Countryside Adult Home. As Chair of the committee, I just want to extend the county's sympathies for your recent loss and well. So we've got 2 action items on the agenda. The first is a request to fill a vacancy for a full-time institutional aide 3, and I see that there's a job description. Could you run us through that, please, Amy?
Yes, this position is definitely necessary. We have to keep adequate staffing at all times, being a 24-hour facility. And, it is 50% reimbursed. As you can see, we've updated the job description to reflect duties in the back.
Motion to bring that to the floor, please. Supervisor McGowan, Supervisor McDevitt on the second. Comments, questions? Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, how is this position being held? Is it an easy one to fill? Do we have longevity in this?
It's full-time position, so it does have benefit. The raise increase is definitely helpful, but what I'm finding right now is for my applications on Indeed is we're mandated to be vaccinated. No one wants to be told your choice is taken away. So I'm having a hard time filling positions.
That I can see the problem. We've had that across the board, you know, in the government alone, and no one likes to be told that.
When I'm talking to people, you know, I sing the praises of what it's like to work for the county, what we've done for our employees, what we can offer. They're very excited. And I was like, well, but I must mention that even though it's a personal decision, here you have to be vaccinated. And I get, oh, let me think about it. And I don't get return calls. Making it quite difficult.
Is there And there's nothing we can do?
Well, I don't know that there's anything we can do, but maybe a suggestion that I have is to possibly work with Jackie's office as well as Don Lehman, maybe to draft up kind of a document that we send out to individuals when we, respond to their interest in the position that talks about, again, it's their right to make that decision, but also, the benefits of working for the county. So it's on paper or online as opposed to maybe even just a personal pitch that you might be able to do. I mean, that could be maybe something for all counties, because I imagine, all departments, because I imagine that all county departments may be experiencing that type of resistance from applicants. So just an idea. We can talk about that later. So any other, okay, so okay, so all in favor of filling the full-time institutional aid number 3, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so moved. On to request number 2, which is to renew clinician services agreement with Hudson Headwaters Health Network for 2 years. The first year will be January 1st of 23 through 12/31/23 in the amount of $17,020. The second year is 1/1/24 through 12/31/24 in the amount of $17,616. Motion to bring that to the floor, Supervisor Frazier and Supervisor McGowan on the second. Questions or comments? Supervisor McGowan.
This, thank you, Mr. And this doesn't seem like a large increase, but maybe you can chime in on this, Drew. Is this kind of an average? I know everything has gone up. It seems awfully fair, especially with Hudson Headwaters. We have a lot of respect for their network and for what they do, but does this seem fair?
Beyond
Very
fair, we are mandated to provide clinician services. We provide this clinician service right at the facility. So our doctor comes every Tuesday. He's a text away. He's a phone call away. I can't imagine doing my job without this service. So yes, what they're asking per year, honestly, isn't enough.
5% increase. is what it is.
Hmm.
3.5%.
Oh, I mean, I think I don't want to go on the record saying I think it's very fair for what they offer, but I've seen it over at at other facilities, especially where my aunt was. I know how many times they had to call in before her passing. So really, I think this is wicked fair.
Yeah, he is.
And I think they're really a great outfit, and how they're expanding, because I sit on the Queensbury Planning Board, and really it's amazing how they'll always want this, building this new area, building that. It's really so it's great. So thank you.
They've got a great facility less than a mile down the street in Warrensburg. All in favor of approving this request, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Discussion items. Number 3. I've got some stuff here, but I think, okay. So I think I've got that taken care of. Resolution request. Can you bring us through the census numbers and the overtime report, please?
Yes, as of August, our census was 34. We have had a couple discharges since then, but we are holding steady. I think I checked last week, we have 25 referrals for when we're ready to start readmitting again. Overtime, I wish I could say the numbers will get better. I can't make a promise like that. it's a different time for hiring. Employees are different. I don't, we just keep pushing out our name, you know, with all the social media. We have our postings in every public area that will allow us to put something on their bulletin board. Hopefully in the coming months, you know, once we've settled down with the tourist type jobs, maybe we'll find people that, you know, will want something long-term.
When that happens, you'll be able to also increase the number of residents too.
Will increase, yeah.
Yeah.
Staff shortages do make a big difference as to why we can't fill, but the major reason why is because of the renovation.
Right, yeah. So. Now,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hey, I'm sorry for all the questions today. How do we make out with the agreement? It used to be called the landing. I don't know what they call it now for the renovations. Is
It's in
that-
their hands. We're just waiting for them to sign and get back to us.
All right, awesome. Like I said, it just seems like the simplest way to do this to keep the renovations moving quickly and safely for all. And I really can't wait for the renovations to really be over and you back. Let's see if we can get all those beds filled. So thank you for all your hard work up there.
appreciate it. Thank you, Amy.
Do you want me to talk about my budget?
I wasn't, should Amy do that, Chris?
Yeah, she should.
Yeah, yeah, go
give a
ahead.
brief
Yeah,
overview.
certainly, yeah,
Just a summary.
So our budget, as most departments, we have increased because of oil prices, electricity, food. It's basically like a very large home that never stops. So we have much more increase than maybe some other departments because we're 24/7. I put into our 260, we'd like to get some items that we need at the facility that we haven't had before, a pressure washer, or pest tools. So when our maintenance person has to do a plumbing job in the middle of the night, he has the tools that he needs, some simple things. The larger thing is our 210 is I'm looking to replace our furniture once our renovation has finished in the residence rooms. The furniture we have now is like 41 years old. It needs some updating. As far as personnel item, I asked for one new position, a full-time institutional aide that I would like to be able to utilize with appointments. COVID has hit the transportation industry tremendously. So we are having staff from as far away as Albany for one person and Plattsburgh to the next. So it's really impacting the facility. So hopefully this new position will alleviate some of that. Any questions?
Alan,
I know you're all surprised. But after sitting earlier and listening to Dee and the Major and that, I've also brought it up and something that maybe we could put into discussion in that. And I mentioned to Amy about, it's always a cook, and it sounds like we're in need of another cook up there countryside, one or two, but I'd like to maybe keep it on discussion to see what we could do if, as we move forward with the Salvation Army and Meals on Wheels, maybe countryside, expanding up north, where we can have a north and a south. So really, all we really need is our volunteers and our drivers. But if it's something that Meals on Wheels can help with adding some money onto salaries for cooks up there, maybe we can maintain them. Just a food for thought, that if we can all put our heads in on this and helping it. But it sounds like the Salvation Army and a facility that is set up and ready to go for up the north, maybe this is something we can pull together. So I just happened to mention it to her. There's no pressure here. But I know we're looking for a cook up there and something maybe we can all put together. So thank you.
We would definitely be more happy to put out more meals into the community. It's a much needed service. No denying that. But until we can get fully staffed, just makes it difficult.
Thank you.
You want some more from me? I mean, I can keep talking. All right.
Take it from the
Yes.
SS.
Yeah, save it for
Quite
later.
enough.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chris.
Good afternoon.
Julie, we've got 4 requests, and then we're gonna. So if you could just walk us through request number 1, which is a notice to fill the position of a part-time community services worker, grade 8, at a base salary of $638 in the foster care unit. Due to a resignation, I'm sorry, effective 9/7/22.
Well, you just handled that for me.
Yeah, okay, great, yeah.
This is a position in foster care that assists the caseworkers and families with visitation and facilitation of appointments and things like that. So it's and transportation. So it is a very important position, and we certainly want to fill that position. We had a resignation at the beginning of the month, and we're requesting to backfill that.
Bring that to the floor. Supervisor Frazier and Supervisor McGowan on the second. Questions or comments for Chris? Supervisor Seaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just wondering about the exit interviews with, I understand the nature of the work is going to have turnover, but are exit interviews being offered and completed for your departures?
Yes, every single person who leaves DSS is told and offered exit interviews, which Human Resources handles. So we definitely want to hear feedback from people who leave DSS, because that's obviously information that will help us make improvements if we see certain trends.
Perhaps, Mr. Chairman, perhaps at the next committee meeting, recognizing how busy today is with budget, we could just have an overview on what some of those challenges are for employment in DSS and what the feedback is you're getting from exit interviews and how we can be creative and it sounds applicable to countryside as well, and advertising, hiring, and then responding to the concerns that our employees have had. Would that be
Sure.
acceptable?
I'll
Thank you.
Add that to the agenda. Make sure we do. Anything else? So on to Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you. I will not take up too much time. I just want to thank my counterpart from Queensbury for bringing that up, because that's what I was going to bring up. So thank you so much. And I look forward to hearing some about these exit interviews.
Let me call the question then. All in favor of approval of request number 1, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. We'll go on to number 2, and this time, Chris, you can do the reading.
All right, the next action item is a request to fill a position, senior caseworker number 5. This is in the Adult Protective Services Unit. It's due to a separation effective the 12th of September. The pay grade is an 18 with a base salary of $56,104. The position is mandated and reimbursed.
Motion to bring that to the floor. Supervisor McGowan. Supervisor McDevitt on the second. Questions, comments for Chris on request number 2? Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you. You said separation?
Yes, this particular person unfortunately is deceased.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you.
I will call the question. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moved. Request number 3, if you could read that one for us, please.
It's a notice of intent to fill position of caseworker, which would be a backfill to the senior caseworker number 5 that I just requested to fill. This grade 16 base salary of 52,743. This is in our services unit, and that would be due to a promotion to that second request, the senior caseworker number 5.
Bring that to the floor. Mr. McGowan and Fraser on the second. Questions or comments for Chris? Nothing. I will call the question. All in favor of the request number 3, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? So moved. And request number 4. We've already done, but I'll do it again. A budget review 2023 social services and countryside adult home attachment number 4. Chris.
Yeah, Julie has a summary, do a brief overview as we typically do during this budget review at committee. That would be great. Thanks, Julie.
6010 is really our operating expenses. It's our administrative expenses. It's where all of our salaries, benefits, contracts, that kind of thing are in here. So it's where you're going to see the biggest increase due to salaries. We have requested 4 full-time and 1 part-time position to start in 2023. Mostly the nature of the work, it's really to help relieve some of the workload on a few of these units that are really getting buried. One of them being heat, which is year round now. So you'll see increases there, and with more staff, you're going to see more expenses for supplies and that kind of thing. Rent is based on prior year expenditures, and we are paying actual. The Buildings and Grounds does their report on the expenses, and then we are charged accordingly. It took us a long time to get it full reimbursement, so it's always a good thing. We asked for new desk chairs, filing cabinets, that kind of thing. For as we get new staff, we have to create more either cubicles or offices as needed. So we're going to need some furniture for that. We have a contract with the sheriff's office for both fraud and security. So they're both based on wages. So we have actual for that as well. And that about sums up the 6010. All of our other budgets are programming, so they are mandatory, and we don't have a lot of wiggle room. We can go through them very quickly. Our 6050 is our secure detention. It's court ordered, and I did put in enough money that would be covered under our STSJP allocation that we get every year. And hopefully we won't see a lot of that. Moving on, 6055 is our daycare, and this is our complete allocation. However, we do have a minimum amount that we have to meet before we get reimbursed 100%. Our next one is 6070, which is our Title 20. It's reimbursed at 100%. And then there's Medicaid, which is 100% county share. Not a lot we can do about this, but we're staying pretty even from what we had projected for 2022. The backup is that statewide, everybody gets the same worksheet so that you can figure out the Medicaid shares based on your county. So that's held steady is really huge benefit to the county, because it is 100% count local share. 101 is medical assistance. That's when an employer will take on one of our clients to hire them on a trial basis. So we will pay for their healthcare costs during that trial. If they take them on permanently, then they take over the healthcare costs. And we do see a little bit of it, not a lot, but we do see it. 6109 and 6119 are our foster care expenditures, which have gone astronomical. The cost per institution, the daily rates have just really gone extremely high with no end in sight either. And the number of kids that we have in care, it's pretty high as well. And we're seeing a lot more kids being provided education for handicapped, which we pay a portion of that. The school pays the education fees, but we have to pay the maintenance portion, and that's all local share as well. Six, 1, 2, 3 is our juvenile delinquents. So we're still seeing some costs in there every year, trying to keep it minimal. The huge one is state training school. That's when a Warren County resident that is not in our care, they are in the care of the state, but we have to pay their resident. And the costs are $1,000 a day. Pretty
Nice.
much in most of these schools. Yeah, you can count on $1,000 a day. So, you know, hopefully the kid, when a child is placed there, they're not there very long. Sometimes we see them come in for a month and then go, and then we might get them back. It's not something you can predict. You just can't. So I like to have money in there because we know we're going to get hit hard.
Yeah, in fact, we currently have someone who might be that way, so it's going to be definitely an expense. Coming up in 2023, we did have 3 kids in at one point. A couple have been discharged, so there has been some improvement there, but we do have another one in the pipeline, so to speak. That's probably going to be going to state training school, which is where juvenile delinquents go.
Supervisor McGowan.
If you can answer it quickly, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Why is it so expensive?
Well, I don't think there's a quick answer to that.
Okay, so we can move on.
These are the toughest of the tough. I mean,
Yeah, these are-
you don't get sent here if you just need a slap on the hand. These are really tough kids where they've been in the system and they've tried everything else, different placements.
Generally
This is-
committing felonies as well.
Yes,
So this is like a super duper detention
Yeah,
center
yeah.
type,
Exactly.
okay,
yes.
Could be a secure detention.
but it's not jail.
It's not jail, no. It's a foster care placement with the state taking over custody of the child and managing their case directly to one of their facilities.
Where's one of those? Where's the closest facility like that?
Albany, isn't it?
Yeah, they have them in Albany. They have them in Syracuse, they have them in Buffalo, downstate, Rochester. So there's several different areas. There's not as many as there used to be. They've closed down one that was a big one that we used to use called Tryon. There's a lot of bad things happen there, including a guard that was actually killed by a resident, and it kind of got out of control, so they closed that facility down. And currently, I think there's 2 or 3 that we've used, but yeah, they're all over the state.
So my next question, if I may continue, does the state do this? So instead of like putting them in a jail, so they don't have to pay for them
I don't think
without
that's the
jeopardizing
motivation.
anything in saying that, but it doesn't sound like if they're the worst of the worst. The state saying, well, hey, we're gonna put them in this detention center as a last hope reserve. Instead of putting them in jail where the state would have to pick up their fee. This way they could put it on the county. I mean, I'm seeing a pattern of what the state does to us where the fee becomes us.
Yeah.
And we have no choice but to take it.
Yeah, I mean, it's mandated. I don't know if that's necessarily the motivation of the state. But it's a system that's been developing over time, over many years. And it was typical even 20 years ago for the state to take over these kind of cases. It certainly was not as expensive. And I think, one can only wonder why it costs so much. I mean, obviously facilities are super expensive to run. They have to have very sophisticated systems in place in regards to dealing with children's needs. So they have to have psychiatrists, they have to have medical doctors, they have to have nursing staff, they have to have special counselors 24 hours a day. They have teachers there because they teach the schools right there. They don't leave the campus for school. So it's expensive to keep all that going 24 hours a day. Should it be that expensive? Probably not. And I'm not even going to get into some of the other things that you would not want to hear about expenses that have happened over the years. But this one does particularly apply to the county level. So, it's one of those things that we do have to, pay for, and it is mandated.
And there's no way we can ask to be in a shared partnership with the state over this because of their mandate.
They already look at it that way. They look at it
Oh.
like we're paying for half of it. That's kind of their
Oh, so
view
we
of
pay
it.
$1,000 a day, so they're paying it, so it's actually $2,000 a day.
Well, in theory.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I bet you not.
I just get
It's
confused
yeah.
sometimes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else for budget review? Any other privilege of the floor, public comment, anything from the supervisors or? Obviously, I'm going to bring in fresh pastry. And people. Yeah. Chris.
I think Supervisor Seaver wanted to hear a little bit about some of the responses and feedback that we get from people who are departing DSS. Not only specifically to exit interviews, but anecdotally, I can just basically globally say some of the things that we're hearing and seeing.
And Commissioner, today doesn't need to be the day for that. Hopefully in our next meeting, we can have some more information about that, some analysis of those
Sure.
interviews. And then also, to the supervisor from Queensbury's point, even with Countryside, how can we work together to make to help advertise some of the benefits that we do have with the county and help with that employment and retention rate. So I'll
Without
look forward
putting
to that.
anything more on your plate, I mean, maybe you could give us an email a few days, a week before the regular meeting so that we can at least have a chance to digest it, and then we can have that conversation during the committee.
What specifically would you like to hear that you might not already be aware of?
I would just assume that we don't know. I don't know a whole lot. So kind of give us the Reader's Digest version of a typical scenario, how, or if there's a trend in, I think that was brought up a couple of meetings ago. As I've said before, working at DSS, not to take anything away from any of the other departments, is challenging work. It's tough work, and you get very few pats on the back, but you also get a lot of from customers and clients and the general public. So I understand it's a difficult place to work. If we can just kind of get a quick synopsis of,
Sure, absolutely.
you know, how some of those go. I think
Would
that
that
would be
be
appreciated.
helpful, Supervisor Seaver?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk offline. I don't want to take up today's time talking about that, but it has been a repeated request over the last several months from a supervisor from Glens Falls. And we just haven't gotten that update. So I think it would be helpful.
I mean, it's certainly something that I could speak to right now if you wanted to. hear
No, I
that,
think we've
or
got
if you wanted
some
to
other
just say-
people waiting for other committee meetings.
Well, it should be on the agenda. So.
Yeah, it will be. It will be. Motion to adjourn. Supervisor Frazier, Mr. McGowan on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Great.